Call him Joe, an ordinary name for a man who wouldn't play their game. He walked the halls of power and of might, just looking for a sliver of the light. Inside the belly of the beast he saw a disregard for ethics and for law. He gathered papers, stacking fact on fact, knowing there was no turning back. He's an agent for the truth, standing tall, ready to answer freedom's call. They build the walls, but he'll just tear them down, wearing honesty like it's a crown. Filed the report, laid it on the stone, a heavy truth you can't ignore alone. The silence from the top was cold and deep, while the secrets they were trying to keep. He's an agent for the truth, a standing tall, ready to answer freedom's call. They build the walls, but he'll just tear them down, wearing honesty like it's a crown. An agent for the truth, just an agent for truth.
All right, welcome everyone. We have attorney Larry Becraft with us, of course, and let's just start out with our prayer as we always do. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespass, as we forgive those who trespass, and lead us not into temptation. All right, so Larry, why don't you take it away?
Well, thank you, Joe. Sherry Jackson showed up. Wow. Well, I'm glad to have her.
Hello to
But
Sherry.
other than her, we know who she is, but we have some new people on here. And I wouldn't mind taking a few moments to just kind of go around the board and, ask some of these people what they're expecting to get out of something like this. I already know what Sherry is. We'll bring up Sherry at the last.
All right. Well,
How about, hey, let's start off with Claire. She's always full of something. What do you want to get out of these meetings?
Well, hi, everybody, and hi, Sherry. Nice to have you join us. I am really hoping that the tax honesty movement will be revived and we can do something about this problem by informing our fellow Americans. And the reason that prohibition was repealed with the 21st Amendment was because the courts couldn't get any convictions because the juries would not do it. And I'm hoping that that's what people will learn when they learn who the tax really applies to and what the tax really is as an excise. And they just say enough, we're not helping them rob us anymore.
Sure like that, Claire. I agree. I mean, certainly coming from the criminal investigation division, I've always thought that the jury pool is so important to the whole matter.
Jamie and I demanded a jury trial when Tommy was helping us, and we didn't get one. They didn't, because it was foregone conclusion that we were going to lose, so they didn't want to take a chance on that.
They denied you a jury?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was civil, though. They didn't get us criminally. See, and that was the other thing. The Brady exculpatory stuff is okay to leave out in civil cases. And we had tons of it and they wouldn't look at any of it. And the IRS left out stuff too and lied, of course. But in civil, that's okay, I guess.
Okay, Sherry, here we go.
Hey, pick one of them, Joe.
All right, go ahead, Sherry.
For those that don't know, Sherry Jackson is a very famous personality in the tax freedom movement. She used to work for the IRS, and then she got involved with the tax freedom movement, and things kind of, I'll let Sherry tell her own story if she wants to.
Can you hear me?
Have you on board, Sherry?
Hear you great.
Hi, everybody. So, wanted to see what you guys had to say and, see if there were any plans to further educate the people in kind of a different way now that a lot of the stuff that's happening is affecting not only the poor people, but especially the middle class people. So that's my story. And for those that don't know me, I was an Internal Revenue agent from 19 1988 to 1995. After I left, and I met Joe and met Larry and a whole bunch of other folks and started speaking out about this. Of course, the government didn't like it. So they locked me up with a 4-year sentence on a misdemeanor, which was willful failure to file, because I decided to keep my money. I did serve 3 years of that 4 years, came out, and I was like, you will not break me. So I wrote a book called How to Stick It to the IRS, because they stuck it to me and I stuck it back to them. But anyway, I have still been educating people as to how to deal with their finances, and just kind of, like I said, doing life right now. My parents are 82 and 81, and I'm an only child, so I'm very busy. And but I still need to find out, where things are going on in this country. It's looking bad. When I was about 14 years old, my dad told me there will be no middle class, and he got that from a professor at Georgia Tech, because he used to work at Georgia Tech in their mechanical department. So this is happening right now, and I wanted to hear perspectives, and Joe, find out what you had to say about what we need to do to further educate folks about the fact that their money is going towards all this foolishness. And I'm done.
Thanks, Sherry. What's your website to go to?
My website is my name, SherryPeelJackson.com.
Fantastic. I don't know. For myself, I'm trying to get the attention of people like Elon Musk or Tucker Carlson, or people that have a really big reach that I believe would care that the income tax is being illegally enforced, outside of the laws. We've all heard of taxation without representation, but this is taxation without right? They never legislated what they are actually doing on a day-to-day basis. Anyway, so I think somebody like Tucker or Elon, or both of them, if we could get their attention to say this isn't a pipe dream or a conspiracy theory. We have actual facts show that the income tax is, enforced outside of the laws that were passed by Congress and signed by a president. So I was on Clayton Morris, if anyone's ever heard of the Redacted channel on YouTube. I'm kind of happy that interview has nearly 700,000 views. So I'll send a link in the chat. I've done it in the past also, but you can spread that around. But anyway, anybody that knows how to get a hold of Elon, share it with us so we can really spread the word. I think one X post by him we'd have all the attention we could.
What about Joe Rogan? I think that Tucker would be the best, the easiest, based on what I've seen him going over lately. I think he would be more amenable to it. And then Joe Rogan, I don't, those two shows would, even one of them, but between those two, is there a way that, how do you get on their shows? How do you vet them for you getting on?
I would think the first thing you got to do is just establish some kind of contact. But I know some people that try to get in touch with, either both of those that you mentioned, and like getting in touch with Tucker. How do you do that? I've looked around. How do you find a phone number? And I know that he charges $100,000 for speaking engagement. That I know, but I have no idea how you contact him.
Yeah, so maybe you just charge $10,000 for a 5-minute phone call. But anyway, that's my idea. That's what I'm trying to work on, because we do need. I think the people. Like I say, with this Clayton Morris interview, it's really initiated a lot of interest, and it's not because people didn't really know. And once they learn that, what's this about? Look at how popular the Doge effort was, how quickly they got rid of it too, because they were actually finding some really important fraud. So anyway, it's about getting people's attention. But it looks like Dennis might be back with us. Should we give Dennis another try? Oh, actually, you're unmuted, Dennis, looks like.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Maybe you got some words of wisdom.
Larry predicts you're going to have a lot of great things to say.
Well, been following Larry Becraft's work for many, many years, and he's been in the battle, and he knows pretty much all the ropes, and same for you, Joe. In fact, I saw both Joe and Sherry in Phoenix, along with John Turner. There was a meeting back probably in the early 2000s, maybe. And so
now you're talking almost a quarter of a century ago.
I remember that. It was 115 degrees outside.
Yeah, but that was a great conference, and education is a key. And one thing I got to give accolades to Larry for is he's been with his Truth Attack Hour, getting out there and educating the people on the statutes, the regulations, the history, and he's had some great guests on his show. So Larry's out there doing it. So and Sherry's still in the fight. So there's a scripture that says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them from them all. So, we had Tommy Cryer was here along with Steve Hempfling. So there's just been so many people in the battle, and we've lost a few like Irwin Schiff, and so it's not an easy battle, but it takes guts and courage and belief in what you're doing. And so I think all three of you, Larry, Joe, and Sherry, have all those qualifications. So you were talking about Tucker Carlson. I know that Robert Barnes has been on the Alex Jones show several times, attorney Robert Barnes, and he's had several people speak on tax issues. So, I don't know what the feasibility of contacting him would be, but it would seem that he would certainly be open to that.
I know Barnes. I sponsored his membership to the United States Supreme Court. He goes back. He and Bob Bernhoff, yeah. Bernhoff and Barnes were practicing law together back in the year 2000. And I think Joe and I were up. Joe, weren't you up there? When 9/11 came along, we happened to be in Milwaukee working with,
Dick Stein.
Irwin Schiff was out in Phoenix. Bob went to Phoenix to be with Irwin, and he got stranded with Irwin during 9/11. Y'all remember that?
And then wasn't Dick Stein stranded in Milwaukee?
Yeah, Bob Barnes, Jeff Dickstein. I was up there. We were drafting some questions for Bob for Bob Schultz.
Oh, for the Truth and Taxation.
Yeah, Truth and Taxation. And that's when 9/11 happened. So, hey, we've got some new folks. We got Maximilian. He's a new name to me, at least. Rodney Smith, Jack Venrick, Bingo Toyer, Kim Wojcinski, Whisperer. These are new names. I don't know who M is. I wouldn't mind if they want to speak up. I would like to find out from them what they're expecting. If they were to attend regular meetings like this, what would they want to learn? What would they want to know? What would they want to ultimately be a part of?
Jen, you are unmuted.
Hi. Well, thanks for asking the question. I'm new to the call. Saw the post in another Telegram thread I'm in. And they shared this link. So this is my first time on. So you asked, what we would be interested in hearing. I guess I'm new to each of y'all. And the group I was in was very focused on how to actually go about, logistically. They were talking about filing as a non-resident alien, things like that. I've been following that and researching for several years. So I was just curious, is this group talk about particular ways of handling taxation, or is it more theory, or I just don't know much about the group and the people in it, and looking to understand that. You asked what we're looking for. I'm looking for some practical help on how to fight this fight on a daily basis.
Well, Jen, I'll tell you this. You're apparently new to the movement, but there's a lot of us on here that have been around for 20 and 30 years. And, the reason this particular Zoom meeting got started here maybe about 2 months ago is because things just kind of basically dried up. There's not a whole lot going on. So Joe, who I've known Joe, it goes back more than a quarter of a century.
Yeah, because we met at least we talked.
In 98, at least, it was Bob Schultz's, one of his seminars in Washington, D.C. Probably about 98?
July of 99.
Okay.
And then, but we talked before I left the IRS even.
Oh, yeah. Davey.
Back when you thought I was a plant, I was just doing a sting on y'all.
But Jen, that's who we are. We've been around for many decades. We've been through a lot. There used to be a time when the tax movement was a whole lot more organized. A lot more people were directly involved. There were a lot of meetings everywhere, and it just kind of basically died off over the last 10 to 15 years. So, you're a member of a small group. You're interested in these issues, and what we'd like to know is, for those that are now still interested in the tax issue, what do they want to get accomplished? And that's what I'd like to be able to use this forum for, both organizing as well as educating those that want to know a little bit more.
And Jen, this is Joe. So you happen to have two former IRS agents on the Zoom call here. Thankfully, Sherry Jackson joined us from Stone Mountain, Georgia. I've known Sherry for many, many years, but I resigned from the IRS in 1999. I was in the criminal investigation division division. And, principally Larry, but really many others educated me about how the income tax laws actually work. Even though I was a CPA when I went into the IRS and thought I knew what was going on, had IRS training at the university where I got my degree, and then didn't really get my real education until I started to look at the underlying foundations for the income tax that they don't show you in your average university class. So, I think you're certainly among friends here, and we principally look at the absence of a liability for the income tax, the fact that the IRS tells the public that you should file a return or statement with the government for any federal tax that you're liable for. So we listen to the government's guidelines. We read the government's guidelines and we follow them. And then we find out, thanks to Larry and others, but especially Larry and his research, that the average American is not liable to pay the federal income. So we also talk about what income is as per the Constitution, how it's defined in the Constitution, and similar point. Sherry, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I know there are a lot of groups out there, and unfortunately, a lot of them are teaching these remedies that, for whatever reason, are not getting the results. So I get a lot of calls from people that have done this or that, or filed this or that with the government, and either they get a $5,000 frivolous penalty, or they'll actually get money back. But then later on, maybe 8-10 months later, they'll get a knock at the door saying you got that money illegally and you got to pay it back plus interest. So I'm more concerned about people not getting into trouble with these remedies than I am, the other ones that are just learning. That's good that they're learning, but then you have to be careful about what it is that you sign up for when you join some of the groups, because I've seen some tragedies.
Thank you. Let's see. I see another hand up from Whisperer.
And Rodney Smith also.
Whisperer to unmute. Okay, go ahead, Whisperer.
Hi. I hope you can hear me, but sometimes my mic doesn't work. Can you hear me?
We can.
You can. Okay, good. Well, my real name is Nelda, and I'm in Maryland. And I think Jen and I are in a Telegram group. Johnny Jones is running that, and we are there following Dave Champion's method. And I myself have been a victim of the IRS, and I've used Dave's, not just his book, but his letters at this point. And I don't know how successful they were, because I got actually a response from the IRS that Dave did not expect. So when you're, and I have to start out with saying to Sherry and to Joe, both of you, I knew of you by doing, the right research and finding both of you online, and I'm glad to see you here in person, and I'm honored to be in your presence. Sherry, I'm glad that you survived, and your ordeal and everything. I mean, my heart goes out to you all for standing up for the truth and having to deal with the persecutions that you guys have had to deal with. I didn't even know you guys still existed, Joe and Sherry. I just see y'all as websites at this point, and so I'm just very honored to be in present call. But anyway, as far as my observations of what we need in going through this process myself, and I'm also a pro se litigator, and the same idea comes up as what can we talk about on a daily or on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and I don't think that's really the right approach, because people, they get caught in these situations and they need something right away to help solve their particular case. And so I think that's where we need to be here to support each other in something like that. And I don't know how far you can go with a step-by-step approach without exposing everybody and having the IRS put us all in the same jail cell. That's what I think is, we need almost a how-to discussion of how to solve this particular problem right now. And I know one of the problems that we all run into is the darn W-9 and the darn W-4. Is it the W-4 form? It's the W-9 and which generates the 1099. I can stop paying my tax, but I can't stop somebody else from reporting me, and that's what's hard through a W-9 or a W. I think it's a W-4. So those kinds of discussions I think would be helpful also, because those are things that you can exercise that right almost daily, almost whenever you need to. Whenever you change employers, whenever you get a new contract, whenever you work for, you should be able to exercise that. So that's one of the things that I would like to see answered is, what exactly, how can we convince some CPA that I do not need to fill out a W-9. So,
Well, that's a good topic. We've talked about it in the past, but we should talk about the 1099 issue again sometime soon, Larry, because
Yeah, we can do it. I can do it right now.
that's okay. Well, because that's another
I mean,
scam for
it's
sure.
the third party report starting with section 6041 of the code. And if you sit down and look at it, ultimately, but it's a task to do it. I don't know how many people will be able to follow it. I mean, I maintain everything in the 641 through 649, 6050 of the Internal Revenue Code. Those third party reports are only for non-resident aliens and foreign corporations, not for citizens. So you have a battle on your hands. The way you see it requires some study. And one of the ways that I know you can study, you turn to the regulations. Let's just take section 6041. Right. Information at the source. And you'll find out that this implemented by means of regulations. And when you really sit down and start taking a look at the regulations, these are the ones that support things like a 1099. Well, ultimately, after you go through you got to take a look at the origin of the regulations and follow them through. And it takes a good bit of study. You got to have access to things like the regulations. You got to go back through the historical regulations, see how it was built. And when you see how it's built, ultimately you arrive at this place. Hey, there you go. Very good, Joe. How did you pull that up so fast?
Because we had it in show 102.
Oh, okay.
So
Good.
I remembered it and grabbed it. I'm not
Okay,
as
good.
fast as they are on InfoWars, but I do quick on the draw. IRS trained.
Well, ultimately, all the third-party reports, the way I trace out their source and see who they apply to, and it takes you got to dig into OMB numbers. You got to be able to find OMB control numbers, chase those down, see who it applies to, and by ultimately doing that, you can ultimately reach the conclusion who it applies to. But then, if you're going to do it, then take a show where everything is laid out, and it would take a good bit to put it all together. But ultimately, when you get through the exercise, you will. Where does that come from, Joe? Go to the very. Well, there is one unifying big 100-page regulation from which a lot of those regulations are derived. And you go back to that one big regulation that originally enacted, that's one of the tricks that the IRS pulls. They came out with this, 110, 120 page, big, long joint regulation back in 1997. And that became the foundation for a whole bunch of regulations. But this was only applicable to non-resident aliens and foreign corporations. But then when they publish it all in the regulations, you don't see that it's those regulations are derived from this one big. Hey, Joe, go back to this is Treasury Decision 8734. Is that it, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know that I don't know if I'd have 8734 easy.
Okay. Well, here's what the IRS did with this. Back in 1997, they came out with this Treasury Decision 8734, and it had 100 pages or more of regulations, and all the statutes between Section 6041 and Section 50. They don't exist independently of regulation. You got to take a look at the regulations to see how they're implemented. Well, there are a lot of these regulations, current regulations under these third-party reports, come from this big, long Treasury Decision 8734. Well, once you study that, you find out, everything that's in Treasury Decision 8734 only applies to non-resident aliens and foreign corporations. Yes, there you go. That's it, Joe. There's the title of it. And how many pages is this? Go up to the top so we see how many pages from the PDF counter.
112 pages.
112, okay. Now go down to the title for Treasury Decision 8734. General revision of regulations relating to withholding of tax of certain U.S. source income paid to foreign persons and related collections, refunds, and credits. So this regulation, there is nothing in this big Treasury decision other than stuff that relates to non-resident aliens and foreign corporations. But when you go through this, you find out that these are revisions for a lot of the regulations for sections 1441 through 14, it comes up to, it's 1441, 1442, 1443, which is all non-resident aliens and foreign corporations. 1461, that's liability for the withholding tax. But then there's some other there are regulations for other sections in this too. But everything in this relates to non-resident aliens and foreign corporations. And then ultimately you'll find that a lot of the active regulations requiring these third-party reports like 1099s have their source in this. But you won't know it unless you go back to this and read, well, all this stuff came from one big, long regulation before it got busted up. And then you'll see, that the person that they're talking about in the regulations is a non-resident alien or a foreign corporation. So it's kind of complex, and it would take probably a separate discussion, separate meeting, because it's a little bit convoluted. But, all the third-party reports, and, to me, too many people in the tax movement I just want to know the answer. That's all. I just want to know the answer, and then after I get the answer, I'll go on my merry way, and I'll never visit the tax movement again.
Hey, Larry, can I pause you for a second?
Larry.
Sure.
Go ahead, Jen.
Because I'll be honest with you, it is really hard to hear you say that. Y'all are saying that there's not people coming into the tax movement, and you want people in the tax movement. Well, here we are. We're trying to get into the damn tax movement. But you know what? It's frustrating. I'm 50 years old. I have a 10-year-old son. I've been studying for 3.5 years. I am doing my damnedest to understand this. I'm a 4.0 in industrial engineering. I graduated #1 in my class. I am not an idiot. I'm a smart woman. But no, hold on. Let me have a chance, please.
Go ahead.
Because you said you want us as part of this movement. And we want to be part of this movement. But the reality is, right? We don't want to be, I have a 10-year-old son and a husband and a job and a life, and I don't want to go to jail like Sherry did for 4 years. So we do have practical questions. No, we don't want to just be given the answer and go on our merry way. And that's not cool to say that.
Well,
that's not what we want. No, but you know what? There's a lot that aren't. And for those of us who aren't that way, who are trying to learn, who are trying to follow these groups, understand, it is frustrating when, part of it is we do need help coming up with an answer. Her question and I'm not in the same group as Whisperer is, so I don't know the group she's talking about. I'm in a different group. And that was about being practical. Like, we can't stop people from giving us a 1099. So if you want us to go down that route of trying to to understand, yeah, you're right. You know what? They shouldn't be giving it to us, but they are. And I don't have the time or energy in my life to try and stop a company from giving us a 1099, which is why I went down the route of trying to listen and understand how to file a 1040 NR as a non-resident alien being non-resident to DC. I have done the studying of what income is and what's taxable and what are wages and all the things. But the reality is, it is a little scary to go at this alone. And when you ask a question like, hey, let's file this, I'm going to file this 1040 NR as a 0. It is scary when you hear people like Dr. Sherry, who knows her stuff, being in jail for 4 years. So we do want someone to be like, hey, I am filing this. If I get a response from the IRS, will you just help me respond? I'm not trying for a shortcut. I'm not trying to get it and get out. I care, and I care about the movement, but I also have a life, and I'm trying to be a good mother and raise a son who understands taxation is theft, who understands all these things, who learns how to think for himself. I am doing all that, but we do need some hand holding and help instead of being told, okay, well, here, let me show you all the reasons they shouldn't be giving you a 1099. I'm with you, brother, but I've got one. And all I can do is say, what do I do here? Because you know what? I've been doing this for 3.5 years, and all of a sudden the guy leading this thread disappears. He's no longer there, and I'm 3.5 years behind on filing a 1040 NR because he's like, well, don't try and go at it alone because when the IRS responds, you need help. I have been studying for 3.5 years, and I'm 3.5 years behind. So 2.5. So I'd like to know, who can help me? I will pay someone to help me learn what to do to file and to be there. It's not because I need a cheater. It's not because I don't want to learn, but I can't sit here and listen to theory for hours and hours about what I need practical.
Yeah, we understand that. We've been doing this for years. And
I know.
Let me ask you this: the theory that you were following, you said the guy that was leading it. Who was that?
It's the opt-out IRS group, David William. Are you familiar with that? Do y'all?
No, I'm not. I mean, I've heard this theory, but I don't know. There's so many groups out there. It's kind of difficult for me to keep up.
I mean,
so you're a member of a group I haven't heard about, and I haven't heard about that promoter. So how many did you have in your group, and what happened to it? Are you saying it's
I
now
don't
faulty
know.
because he left?
We haven't heard from him. I mean, he is a very smart man. He puts a lot of smart stuff on there. I follow it all. It's talking about being a filing. Oh, okay. Mark can answer all of our questions if he would if somebody can let him talk. The M, he's saying this on the thread. Could somebody let M talk?
Joe's the one that has
I
to.
just asked him to unmute. Should be unmuted.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Hi, Larry. Hi, Joe. Hi, Sherry.
I know who this is.
Hi, Jen. The reason I invited you, Jen, is because you needed to hear this. So, gentlemen and everybody else on the call, I am the investigative reporter of 26 years that I've been following each and every one of you. Everybody in the tax movement, even the odd people out that have off the wall theories. And I have seen people like Jen trying to look for practical means of dealing with their issues. And there is no organization besides tax freedom, and that is Thomas Freed, that has that puts out response letters very affordably, like within maybe less than 50, up to $50, that you go there, you download, you sign up with him, you pay $50, and you have a response letter to whichever corresponding letter you receive from the IRS. And he has a tremendous site he's been working on. He runs right now the Truth Attack Hour. He took over from you, I guess, Larry, because you were there for about, the last couple of years or so? Yeah.
Steve Hemley I think Steve's pulled his. Steve's retired.
Right. So right now it's just Thomas Freed, and that's his nom de plume. It's not.
I wish him success.
Well, he has been actually very, very active and quite useful. And a lot of people go there and they download these letters to where at least they create the administrative process, which I have not seen anybody else do. The other one that is pretty active right now is Dave Champion. Yeah, so I know who Jen and the other lady is talking about, and I'm communicating with him as well. The other one is David William, which Jen referenced, and he has a site opting out of income taxes. But he is an advocate of filing a 1040 NR, and he has his angles. And he has very good explanations of why it should be done this way, because for the past 15 years, he had actual administrative success where the transcripts he got back from the IRS show zero tax liability, which puzzled me. Coming from a tax honesty movement, 26 years. My first teacher was John Cotmere. So I was schooled in that, and I'm aware of Erwin Schiff and everybody, and 100 other. I have over 100 manuals on taxation from different authors that I had to study. But my approach is investigative reporting. I look at the whole thing from a jury box. I look for pearls in the mud. I'm looking for visuals, exhibits, pictures of 1,000-word solutions and stuff like that, because I know what clicks with people and what people need. But like Jen says, they need a hands-on someone that can help them with, for those who are willing to take on the battle. And when we spoke earlier, Larry, I mentioned to you that I was going to start the roundtable dialogues, where I was going to invite you all, where you are the king of the day, so to speak, and you provide your solutions, how you're looking at it. And I was going to have David William, yourself, Joe, if you wanted to be part of it, even Paymon, and also Dave Champion, so that we can iron out the differences. And Thomas Freed agreed to it already. Dave Champion agreed to it already. I'm just trying to see at what point we can all meet the people that are more or less in the know, because when we start talking, we speak above the level of the average listener. We start shooting this, how about this section, that section, and it gets quite complex, and not everybody can follow.
Yeah.
So we would need to kind of iron out the differences. I hear a lot of contentions and differences of points of view between how to look at corporations, whether Bershaber was an agent of a foreign principal, the importance of the payor versus payer, the definition of doing business, United States domestic in the context of the non-resident. All these are meaningful for a conversation, an in-depth conversation. And everybody has, the way I look at it, everybody has a smart explanation for everything. And I wanted to bring us all together to iron these differences out, because if we do not harmonize, we are not going to have a strong group that can confer credibility and trust for people like Jen. And I think that that's the solution. So you asked me earlier, what do I think the solutions are? So I'm going to repeat myself to you, but for everybody else is going to be new. The way I see it is that there is already this organization called Freedom Law School that Peymon Montahede runs. He basically has. I invited Peymon, but he's not here yet. I guess he's not going to make it. So Peymon has this Freedom Law School, and is an organization where members pay, and it's a form of insurance that he will write certain letters in their name or for them or with them. They correspond with the IRS or state tax agencies, and based on that, he will create some kind of a administrative record whereby he will inform the agencies that the client is aware of the definition for United States that does not mean the 50 states of the Union. And he has a presentation about that. And a couple other points that are valid points, but I think they're a little bit thin. However, there's a reassurance for his clients because they're part of a group. So if he has 20,000 clients, and everybody is covered for $1 million liabilities, and because they try to communicate in a certain way, and apparently Peymon has been quite successful at this so far, nobody has been attacking his clients. That's what he claims. So I have no reason not to trust him, not to believe him. But because they cannot go after them criminally once they put this work in the administrative stages, they can't go after them criminally because it'll be hard to show that they're doing it willfully. Okay, so that's Peymon. The other guy is Thomas Freed, who has the taxfreedom.com, I think it is. I can give you all the links if you want. And he has all these individual letters, so you can go there.
Yeah, I put in the chat, and I also have there.
Okay, great. And he also has the tax movement, the tax freedom, but he has the IRS Zoom as well. So if you want to go get the letters, you go to IRS Zoom. All right, tax freedom is the theory and the lessons and all that. And he's put a lot of time. The guy is a brilliant guy. He's like a former computer genius and stuff. He worked for government for a while or something like that. So he knows his stuff. And I found him to be very communicative, very, very friendly, and quite open. And I had originally planned an interview with him. But then I also communicate with the program director for Catherine Austin Fitz, and he's in Netherlands. I've been trying to get Dave Champion and Thomas Freed, and whichever one of you or us all as a group on Catherine Austin Fitz or Mike Adams or Foghorn Express, which is that is a former mayor of Nevada City in California. That she has her own station now, Foghorn Express. Her name is Senum, and Renee Senum. And last I talked to her, she said she was going to try to interview Thomas Freed, but I communicated a couple of days ago with Thomas, and she never called him. So I don't know what's wrong with these people. They don't realize the importance of tax independence. Catherine Austin Fitz talks about it every day, and how it's coming, and how important the banking cartel was to losing our liberties and freedoms. And here's taxation ready for her to expose and present it, but thus far I haven't been successful. This year they have a new program, and I've been pushing for the past 2 years to get you guys on the show, and I'm still working on it. I haven't given up, but it'll hopefully happen. I know that this show is recorded, what we're doing right now. I would like to have access to the audio, and I will edit it in such a way that I will share it with both Senum and Catherine Austin Fitz to let them realize, because if we can get on a Mike Adams, that would be a step in for Catherine Austin Fitts. If we get on Catherine Austin Fitts, will be a step in for someone like Tucker without having to pay for it because they are interested in programs like that. And what I see that's happening is that we do not present a front that we're all united behind one large organization, that if somebody like Jen comes in and says, okay, guys, I'm willing to do a strategy here. I have a friendly employer. I'm an employee, and my employer and I are willing to play ball. And what we're going to do is I'm going to sue him friendly, but you guys got to step in when the time of the lawsuit comes in to help us all out. And do you have such an organization? And when I talked to you earlier, Larry, you said that will take some preparation. And I agree it would take some preparation. But I think that is, to wrap it up, my long speech here, I think that's the solution for us to have a united front of attorneys and former IRS agents that come behind an organization that has an insurance program for, let's say, 10, 20 participants that are willing to undertake various slightly different scenarios to strategize for such a multiple attack on the system, because we would have to attack. The courts are not going to do it. So the purpose behind this is, my mind strategy is, okay, we're going to have 10 or 15 different cases, and the courts are going to contradict each other. Well, at that point, the Supreme Court will have no choice but to take a case like the Moore case and address it from a domestic or from the country within the state income tax. They can no longer avoid it because now we're talking about conflict at the circuit courts level. That's about it.
Thank you. And
All right.
I unmuted Jen and Whisperer in case you'd like to follow
Thank
up.
you. I would. And I appreciate that explanation, Mark, and very much. And I think that all sounds wonderful and great. And I guess here's my concern with it. Like, this is the part where it's twofold. If you want to have people involved in this movement, right, then there's two aspects. There's the theory and there's the fighting against the Supreme Court. And then there's the day-to-day life of people who try to come on and go, okay, great. I don't have a friendly employer. Like, I don't. My employer is not friendly, and they're not willing to go to be a part of this. And I can be a pretty good advocate, okay? I'm smart. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of people. I can be a big advocate. I'm willing to donate money. I'm willing to do all the things. But I can't even get someone to help me figure out how to do this, like how to file a 1040 NR or help. I mean, I know how to file it. It's not rocket science, but how to know what to do if I get a letter back, right? So all these people who are willing to help, it's like saying we got to know how to eat breakfast before we can go win a war, right? Like, people are going to starve because they can't eat breakfast, and we're asking them to go fight in a war. So how do we actually accomplish getting ourselves where we feel comfortable sleeping at night because we filed something, or not, we can't just not file and not dispute the evidence when our employer has done something as a 1099. I understand we can't sign our names to a normal 1040 saying that we're legally responsible for paying taxes. Okay, I get all that. So sure, I just want to go file this NR, but then you hear, well, don't do that without somebody there to help back you up. So I got to feel safe and secure in this strategy and having someone there to help me before, to be quite frank, I can care about taking this to the Supreme Court. It's like we have to get down to the day-to-day, and then I'm going to help you take it to the Supreme Court. But what about the day-to-day stuff for these people? That's why no one sticks with this movement, because they either have to have no other job and have all the time in the world to be researching this, no family, no other responsibilities, or they have family and responsibilities and things and just want some practical help, and then they'll help join and further the movement. But like, we can't even see your face, Mark. Like, people aren't even willing. Like, I had a call with David a few years ago. He literally wouldn't show me his face. I'm like, can we just get on a video call? Like, I'm a real person. I want to know you're a real person. No, just a phone call. No one knows him. No one knows who's his wife, and he just disappears out of thin air. And your face isn't even on here. How are we supposed to trust people and have real connection and communication and believe that we're real? That's why I'm showing my face. Like, when we can't even see, like, how do we reach, like, do we even know you're real? We don't see people's faces. We don't have their information. No one's there for the day-to-day, but it's like, yeah, let's get behind and go against the Supreme Court. Is anybody else feeling me on this?
Well, I've heard these stories for at least 20, 30 years.
What stories?
Well, everybody wants to, they're interested in the tax movement, and we got a limited amount of manpower that can help, but you got multiples of that, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times that amount of people. Well, hey, I want to take off. I want to get out of paying the tax. And I've heard that story a long time too. You have a whole lot of people. I want to get out of paying the tax. I want to get out of. That's the first thing to them. No, get me out of the tax without winning the battle first. So we have this, decades-long conflict of interest.
But
which
how is it a conflict
first?
of interest? It's not.
Well,
it's not a conflict.
You want somebody to take your hand and do everything for you.
Not true. I did not say that.
Okay, you want to do some yourself, but there's a limited amount of manpower that can handle, the thousands of people doing it. Well, hey, I've got this problem. Show it to me. You can devote. I've done that. I've been down that road before. I'm not going back down that road before. Again.
If I can jump in here, I think Jen is making some valid points. She doesn't want some. She's already put a lot of time into it. She's already put a lot of time and effort into it. Jen, I turned on my video just for you. I don't look good right now. I need a shower, et cetera, et cetera. I happen to be retired. I got forced tired, not because of taxes, but that other things. But so I do have the time to put into some of this stuff. But in the end, I ended up paying Dave Champion to provide the letters for me. So, to me, the fact that Mark, I guess, was trying to get all of these people together and provide this information for free, I think that's an illusion. I think that's a fantasy. These people are making a lot of money off of this, off of us. And, I don't know how much money Jen already paid whoever was educating her. But I've already paid almost $1,200 to Dave just to eliminate a $30,000 tax bill. Okay. So, when the IRS comes and knocks on your door or they send you a letter, you don't have time. You don't have 3.5 years to go out and learn stuff. You do need it handed to you. You do need it to, you need to then act quickly in order to keep it from escalating. So I do agree with Mark that there needs to be another front of taking place as well that, where we can, I'm not sure that I really want to do that though. I'm not sure that I really want to attack the Supreme Court and have a solid decision, because that'll all go back to the legislators and they'll finally correct everything, so we kind of have a good piece of cake right now. I don't want to spoil it, but I'm not sure that that's what would happen. I really don't know, but I disagree with the attack that Jen is that people wanted spoon fed to them. I believe that people are being so oppressed right now that we have to have it spoon fed to us. We don't have the time to learn this stuff on our own.
How do we address tens of thousands of people?
Tens of thousands of people don't,
I don't
think you can reproduce Jen a million times.
And you know how I think we do it? One at a time, because I would be willing, if someone were to I would be willing to share this with so many people.
Yes.
That's how we do. Look, I don't know all the answers,
Jen, what are you doing? You want us to adopt the theory about non-resident aliens and foreign corporations, right? That's what you're pursuing right now, right?
I'm not asking you to adopt that theory. That's just
no, but that's what you're doing. Am I correct?
That's what I have been convinced of.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm open to other theories. I like to believe I'm open-minded, and I will spend hours and hours, and I have spent hundreds of hours researching this. Okay, so I am not trying to have it spoon-fed, and I am on your side. Okay,
I agree, but the problem is manpower to address. Everybody's wanting. I've got a problem. I've heard that for decades.
Okay, and
there's no way that you can address all the problems.
That's a real defeatist attitude.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's a very historical, accurate, day to day in the trenches.
So are we here to solve problems, or are we here to complain?
Well, that's one of the reasons we're having this meeting tonight, is to find out which direction people. Personally, I think that there needs to be some carefully planned litigation to get some stuff accomplished, some real inroads. That's what I'm interested in, because that's where I see things are going to be most productive.
Okay, but and in the meantime, we have a lot of people out here like Jen and myself who the IRS are after us. I mean, the IRS is after me. I don't know if what I sent into them is going to solve the problem. I don't know that that's going to put me in the do not contact list that Dave Champion was expecting them to put me in. But what I'm saying is it was expensive to get to Dave Champion. You know, I'm on a very limited income and I had to scrounge to get the money together just to get them off of my back. There's thousands of other people out there who are like me, you know, but they're not willing. They're not always willing to pay the money is what the problem is. And then the other thing that you have is, and this is what I'm trying to say, is that how do we convince other people like that influence our tax outcome? How do we influence the employers? How do we influence the corporation? I'm a president of the HOA. I want our HOA management company to stop taking W-9s. I couldn't even convince the CPA to stop. Okay, how do we convince these people to stop requesting W-9s, to stop reporting the 1099s? This is a multifaceted problem, and just,
Yes.
we can't just say, oh, for the last 30 years, we this is what's been happening. We have to put our heads together and take it one step at a time. And I think one person at a time. Like Jen said, I'd be happy to share what I learned with other people. And unfortunately, I'm the one that ended up paying for it. So, but I don't think this information we should have to pay for it. It should be free, But then I think, I think a lot of the education should be free. So anyway, I'm done. That's all that I had to say. I don't think we should have a defeatist attitude here. And I think that is a negative to this whole conversation.
Can you unmute Mark maybe and let him talk again? And just, I agree, Larry, that I think we need to in parallel do both. Okay. And I'm a fan of what Mark is suggesting. I'm not suggesting one or the other. I'm just suggesting both. And I'm suggesting that even if we can't help all 10,000 people, if we can help some one at a time, then we get more and more people on board to help fund the parallel movement of getting on shows and going to the court. I think it can happen in parallel. I think as we help the individuals, then you know what? I'm willing to take a large chunk of what I would have paid in taxes and use it to help fund people to be able to go up against the courts and do this stuff. But I just think it has to be in parallel. And what I'm having a hard time finding are people who are willing to do both. It's just like, no, we like what you're saying. They've been in it a long time. They're frustrated by trying to help one-on-one. I get it. And how do we get new people, younger people, more people on board with the movement unless we're helping them one-on-one? So it's like it has to be done in parallel, in my personal opinion. But can you I guess who were the other people who had their hands up? I don't know. Bengal Tower and Mark put his hand down, but maybe you can, maybe he is unmuted. Sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
I just unmuted Bengal.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure.
Hello?
Is this Bengal?
You're on, Bengal.
Okay, so hi. Sorry, I can't put my camera on. Can you hear me? Is this not working very well?
We can hear you, Bengal.
Oh, okay. I'm just not seeing my little screen light up green when I'm talking. So I'm just want to say that honored to be here with Joe and Larry and all of you. I think you're all very awesome, and I don't want to argue too much. But I think that what Mark was trying to get at a little bit, and Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that we have this source of truth issue, and then we have, which comes across as a unity issue, and then we also have this pedigree issue, and they're all kind of interrelated. So theoretically, if something works, there should be evidence that supports what works. Now, maybe we don't all agree on what that evidence should look like. So if we say, oh, what works, so maybe someone says, my method works because I got a check back in the mail. And that's like, who is the guy who wrote, anyway, like people will get checks back in the mail, right? And so if you say, well, that's your criteria for evaluating success.
Are you thinking of Pete Henderson?
Are you talking about
Pete Henderson. I'm talking about Pete Henderson. Yeah, exactly. So, but then later they get letters back, and then they get taken to tax court, and then, well, now they get penalized. Now Pete Henderson goes to jail. And so it's like, okay, so that just getting a check in the mail is not adequate criteria for success. So I think that this source of truth issue is multifaceted, but one is, what do we consider the criteria of success to be? I personally would say that the criteria of success is you get an IRS audit and they agree that you have $0 of income. Now, maybe there is a different criteria of success that would be better, but I think that if you have the man telling you you don't owe anything, that's probably the best criteria of success. And so I think that as part of this issue of unity and source of truth, we need to have unified criteria for what we believe is success. And then
I think that what Larry is trying to relate to all of us, if you don't mind me jumping in for a second, is that we're actually dealing with a hijacked government. Mm-hmm. We're dealing with dereliction of duty. Mm-hmm. On their behalf, okay? So we're not going to have any solutions easy coming from them. And the problem is that being such a complex issue, it's hard for 10,000 people, which is going to be needed for this movement, so to speak, to act in unison because it's complex. And Larry and Dave Champion, or if you go with David William, or you go with Thomas Fried or Paymon, 4, 5, 7, 10 people, that's an impossible task. So I think that what Larry is suggesting, and I kind of agree with this, because he says, okay, why don't we focus on maybe 5 cases that we can handle? Let's see if we can find and do it quickly. I understand the emergency because right now I know Jen has been at this, and I know the story about what's going on with David William. I understand the urgency and the emergency of their circumstances, and I feel for them. I can relate to what that feels like. So which plan is the best? Which one should we approach first? Because Larry's solution, as he suggests, may take, what do you think, Larry, 6 months, a year?
Well, look, I've got decades involved in this. I've seen everything come down the pike. And I also seen just tonight's phone call, there's a lot of problems. And typically the amount of problems is almost insurmountable with a limited group. So, I've always been befuddled with that problem when you have 1 million problems and the ability to solve 10 of them, then you are overwhelmed.
So
I really don't know how you can handle an avalanche of problems. But and that's taught me to say, well, hey, the solution is, hey, I'm one party. We can move forward with a couple of solutions, and I'm on my way to pursuing the solutions I picked.
What does those solutions look like, Larry? If you had your way?
Well, I know that there's litigation to. There's not a whole lot of lawyers involved in this movement. I've been involved in this movement. I think I've learned more about income tax laws than my roommate in high school and my roommate in law school. Went to NYU. He is Joe Rich here in Huntsville, Alabama, and he's one of the most prominent tax lawyers in Huntsville. I have read all of the old tax act published on the internet. I think I know a whole lot more about the tax laws than the tax lawyers do. And I see the things that we absolutely must pursue. But then, it's kind of real difficult to get people to agree upon it because people are wrapped up in solutions that I'm not going to pursue, and I know that they're useless. I just see a lot of useless stuff in the movement, and when I see something I believe is useless, I'm not going to have anything to do with it because I've learned that it only creates problems. So the only thing I am going to do is what I know to be solutions, and so that's
what do those look like? Give us like an example.
Well, there's things that we need to litigate, and the litigation will result in solutions for broad classes of people, more so than handling one problem and then moving on to the next.
Do you have anything in the pipe right now that you're working on that would lead to that?
That's one of the things that I'm just trying to pull together right now, because I've just seen, hey, I would like to see the solution to the tax battle come to the forefront soon. I would like for us to win the tax battle soon. I thought that decades ago when I ran into John Kottmeyer, one of my best friends. But I just see that the common perception to pushing forward in this movement is a lot like spinning the wheels.
Hey, Sherry
And
put her hand up. If Sherry could jump in too. Go ahead, Sherry.
Yeah, Sherry, go ahead.
So over the years, I have been studying people, and some of the things that have been said about how to win battles. I have zero faith in the U.S. government. I have zero faith in the legislation, the legislators, and I have zero faith in the courts. I have faith in the people. So I believe that the solution to get us out of this slavery called taxation is going to be to educate the people en masse. Someone mentioned earlier about prohibition and how the people would no longer convict. I think that we really need to concentrate a lot of time, and I'm not saying just doing this, but along with whatever else you guys think is going to help, is going to get in touch with the Joe Rogans, the Catherine Austin Fitts, and the Tucker Carlsons, and the people, these young people, like my children. They don't want to be tax slaves for the rest of their life, but they're not gonna, they're not paying attention to litigation and the fact that a lot of these cases that are out here. Joe and I, and back in the day, John, have been brought up to these cases, and we were supposed to be expert witnesses, and the judge took the jury out, asked questions, and then said, no, I'm not going to let these people testify, and then brought the jury back in, and the jury never got a chance to hear from us. So I don't believe in the court system, but we need to find ways to get in front of millions of people. Like, I did see the redacted, Joe, and not only did I see it, but countless people sent it to me. Hey, did you see this? Hey, do you know Joe? Hey, remember Joe and you did this class together? He just was on. So that's how it's going to happen, because the more 700,000 people saw that, that means that 700,000 people have an idea that the income tax is slavery, is taking our money. I have a poster in my office upstairs. It says, if stealing 100% of the product of someone's labor is slavery, at what percentage is it not slavery? So this is not a black issue. It's not a white, a green, a yellow, purple, nothing like that. This is a racially unifying issue, and it's a country unifying issue. As a matter of fact, this is how the country got started. We need to get the people, their logic and their emotions set on, hey, I'm working January, February, March, April, and May for them to take money to do what? That's the kind of marketing we need to shut this thing down. And when the IRS comes along and all this litigation comes along and these people get prosecuted, then if people do get picked for the jury, they're going to say, no, I'm not, because that person is just as much a slave as I am, and I'm not doing it anymore.
Awesome. I agree. I mean, I think some of us, or pretty much all of us at least, agree that if we had more hands, more arms rowing the boat, rowing the canoe would cut through the water a lot easier. And we're not these Wednesday shows that I do, and I'm sure Sherry does a lot, and Larry does his radio shows, and then he and I tag team with this. We try to give our free time. Also, we've got websites. We try to share free information. But it is it's putting on a windbreaker in a blizzard. I don't know. I didn't create the system. None of us did, and we're all dealing with it. But through prayer, through tenacity, through perseverance, we pray that we'll see it in our lifetimes, but we may not. I mean, the first Christians didn't know that there'd be 1 billion Christians on planet Earth someday, or a couple billion. So anyway, I'm hearing everybody, and I feel bad for all of these things that go on, but that's kind of why we're all here. We're trying to do something, and when you do something to the point of getting prosecuted for it, then if you're doing, like in Sherry's case, where they're going to railroad you into a cage, that's next to the ultimate sacrifice. I guess Erwin Schiff dying in prison would really be the ultimate. So, we're all trying our best. And I do think, in addition to just getting eyeballs on this and ears, the prayers, I hope that, everyone who has even a little ounce, a mustard seed worth of faith, is praying up a storm, because, God can help us do amazing things. And without him, we're not doing squat. So, the prayer effort needs to continue and exponentially increase.
Oh, hello.
Okay, Bengal, why don't you go ahead?
I think that some things that Mark was saying earlier were very interesting. And it sounded like Mark was suggesting trying out multiple different strategies and keeping track of those strategies effectively so that we believe in the process that occurred, and then you can know what really works or not. Mark, is that accurate?
That is pretty much the gist of it, yes.
Okay.
But that takes time and requires knowledge on behalf of the participants and requires the backup of people capable like Larry, maybe some other attorneys. I don't know if Dick Stein would want to get involved, or Peter Gibbons, or, from what I'm understanding, Dave Champion is a rather expensive non-attorney, and that's not fair. I would not recommend that. But his book and the information that he put out there is quite extensive, and I think pretty darn accurate, with one exception, which is the Brushaber case, as being an agent for a foreign principal.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can I continue quickly?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that's awesome that if you have, because there's the pedigree issue right now. If you don't know if you can trust someone and you don't know their methods, then that's not helpful. So if we want to run a bunch of experiments to try and see, or if, Mark, you want to run a bunch of experiments to try and see what's going to work. And so part of that is making sure we have a definition of what works. So what is our criteria of success? So if we run all these experiments, we need to be able to evaluate what actually ends up working. And so we need to know what that criteria is. And then you need to make sure that all the information is freely available for people to see, or else they can't keep track of what happened. And then if they can't follow the story, then they can't know that it was actually true and worked. So I think that your idea is really cool, but I think that as just a corollary to that, it should be made sure that the success criteria are well defined, and that the processes that all of the individual experiments take are available for inspection. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, but that requires individual participation and openness to having their life exposed to the rest of the group, if we are to create a group.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about hundreds or thousands of people, not everybody is comfortable with their affairs being thus exposed.
This is a real problem. I would like to make a suggestion. We do this again next week. And then I forgot who it was with the question came up. Let's take an example. And I will come back and deal with the 1099 the next time, and I'll show you what we got to do, and I'll throw out to you the whole 1099 argument.
But
Going over to decision 8734.
Isn't that how we should get an employer to stop giving us that? But what about how we can handle?
Well, 1099 is different from a W-2.
Yes, I know, but I understand that. I get a 1099. I am a co-owner of a company, and I receive a 1099.
Oh, okay,
but I can't get my company to not do it because there's 40 other owners, so I can't.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering is, if you're looking for suggestions on what we can talk about, can we talk about things that we can actually do in this group as individuals to further the cause?
Well, to me, you have to, too many people just want to be told, hey, lay it out for me so that all I have to do is follow by rote. Well, I don't do that.
Go ahead, Claire, and then we're probably have to wrap it up.
I agree that we need to get the people involved. I had created a business card on the create yourself cards, and it had Thomas Fried. I made a tiny URL to his slideshow, and then I had the $10,000 reward that he has for any factual problems that could be corrected, and then an arrow, and then on the back it was the website for Tactical Civics, because they have a plan of action to get grand juries set up in all of the counties, and I hand them out. I haven't printed any in a while because I'm out of money right now, but I gave it to a clerk in the grocery store after I did my transaction, And she said, oh, what's this? And I said, well, it's the truth about the income tax. And then a lady that was too deep in line behind me waved her hand at me and she said, hey, I want one of those. And I think something like that would be very well received. And I think a lot of people would go to a couple of websites, but not when they're 3 or 4 lines long. It's got to be, short, and not when they're PDFs that you have to use an attachment, because people don't open attachments. They've got to be URLs that are short and they're memorable. People can go to them. And there's going to be a certain percentage that's going to not want to put up with it when they see what's going on. But if we don't make a grand effort to tell all of the people, they're just going to be brainwashed. I mean, I even still see people driving around with their cars with masks on, so we've got to get to the people. I totally agree with Sherry.
Well, let's, go ahead, Jen. Go ahead.
Thanks. I agree with Claire, and I think we need to tell everybody we know. And here's the thing, Larry, I know you're very smart. And it's not that I'm not interested in understanding about how to get companies to not do 1099s, but I can assure you that all of the other moms and all of the other dads that I know are not going to come on a call and give up 1 hour, which is a no that I'm saying to my son, my husband, somebody else, to have theory of how to maybe get a company that's not going to do it to not give a 1099. And so we're not furthering the movement that way. I agree with you. I would love to spend more time understanding and digging in. But the way we're going to further a movement is not by calling people out like me who actually have a sincere desire and saying, I'm not going to spoon feed you. That's not going to further the movement. That's actually turning me off when I'm actually on your side. Let's not keep saying that and instead say, yeah, let's actually, if we're going to spend an hour talking about things, let's spend this hour not just helping me, but let's help all. I can get 100 people on a call, but I can't get 100 people on a call to talk about theory for a 1099 they're not even getting. I can get
No. This isn't theory. But I listen to people.
No, but it's theory to them because they're not even getting a 1099, or they're not going to be able to get their company to not give them a 1099. So in their life, it's theory. And these are real people, but I can get 100 people on a call if we're going to talk about, hey, here's 100 people. Let's get all 100 to understand a practical thing we can do. We can fill out a 1040 NR, or here's why you don't think we should do a 1040 NR. Here's why you think we should do XYZ, but let's get them all. I'll get them on a call. We all will. But we've got to be willing to talk about practical stuff to keep these people on the call.
I don't know what you mean by practical when all I can do is explain how it was built.
I mean practical, like what do we do to not fill out a 1040 and to not get thrown in jail, or to not, that's practical. Like, what do? Do we not fill out a 1040? Do we do nothing and not dispute the evidence that someone's given us showing we have income, and then they assess our tax liability and they assess it for us? And then how do we do something if they've assessed our liability for us? What do we respond with? That's practical. That's real life stuff that we all need to know.
Yeah, I know, but I've seen that. I got 40 years under my belt when that was
show it to us.
It was taken.
What?
And I have just seen it accomplished. I'm immune to doing that.
Why don't we do this though? Because we're kind of out of time. Larry wanted to open up the floor. Not that I didn't want to, but I mean, I kind of like the wonky, go into the weeds and see how, like you said, how it was built, but that isn't practical for everybody. So I think we probably need a mixture, and maybe it'll just kind of gel as we go along, because I'm volunteering for this. I'm not an experienced talk show host. Fairly quick with clicking on links and things. So anyway, if Jen and others, if you'll join in when you can, and we'll try to spice it up and make it worthwhile. I probably need to get some help, even from one of my sons, to take little clip where the person doesn't have to watch for an hour and 20 minutes. And, but that takes a lot of time. But anyway, I'll try to, when we get content, and then I can take a clip that's only 5 or 10 minutes and get it out there on the internet, maybe that'll be helpful.
There's an app for that, Joe. I'll send you the name of it. I can't think of the name of it right now, but I'll send you the app that breaks it down in the clip.
That'd be great. Because, we don't like to be boring, but sometimes, the IRS created a very boring tens of thousands of pages purposely to keep us all in the dark. So we've got these little miniature flashlights, in this huge cave. And it's...
But there's a lot of answers in all of that paper.
Yeah. Anyway, So
and eat.
I'm really grateful for Jen's comments and Mark's and Sherry's and everybody.
People don't know how you're going to announce the Zoom call. How they get invited. So you need to.
I have on my website, I've got a contact where you can basically, send me an email through my Agent for Truth website, agentfortruth.com. And so go ahead and go through there and say you'd like to be added to the email list. I don't like adding people unless they say they want to be added. So I don't want to pound you with, spam. So if you want to be added, go to Agent for Truth. And I'm going to show you because this is typically what I do. So to get to Larry's website, you type in Becraft Briefs into a search engine start page. That'll take you to Larry's website here. Got a lot of good material. I already put that link in the chat. This is the web page that Larry was going to discuss tonight, where it's basically the tax regs that go all the way back to the 1700s, Larry?
Well, no, that's the statutes at large.
Oh, statutes at
And
large.
then further down the page is the tax action regulation.
And the reg.
And I understand people don't like that, but it's what this sucker's been built on.
It's at your finger. So, and then my website is agentfortruth.com. I want you to go read the blog article on the 1040, but you can go to contact Joe down at the bottom. Say you want to be added to my email list. I send out a Zoom invitation, usually a day before we're going to have the show. So please go ahead and tell me you want to be added to the email list. On Brighteon.com, if you type in the Agent for Truth, you can see the archives of over 100 shows from the past.
Can you get in touch with Mike Adams?
Actually, I've already been on Mike's show, so if he wants to have me back on or have me with a group of other people, I love to go wherever I'm invited.
Yeah, because he knows Catherine Austin Fitz, and we can put a plug with him to get us on Catherine, and then from that we can spring on to Tucker.
That sounds good. And then Mark, I think, was among others, told us about irszoom.com and tax-freedom.com, the Thomas Freed website, the good information there. Sherry's website, Foghorn Express.
Yes, I did. And one quick comment before you end this. Thomas Freed, I had a discussion with him, and he thinks that those who filed 1040 NRs are allowed to do so until it catches more momentum, and they might be liable for criminal prosecution. So that's why I kind of wanted us to have this conversation tonight.
Yeah, well, there's pitfalls in just about everything. Anyway, everybody, thanks for all your comments and participation.